Hello, guys. I'm not sure if you could hear. Let me know if you could hear sound from the video, because it was the first time I did this, and I don't know if it worked. So yeah, please let me know if everything is well as well, because I'm using a setup a little bit different than usual. All right, guys. Well, to my stream this morning. It's 9 o'clock in the morning here. I want to cover quite a lot of things. Before the first thing, I have also a few nice announcements that I'll do by the end of the stream. My voice is not very good. I apologize. But yeah, I want to cover quite a few things today. Sort of a topic that I covered a few times in my channel, but I never covered on this perspective, which is anti-discrimination laws. So I made a few videos about anti-discrimination, but I always look at it on the side of a consumer and a service provider. So my solution to the problem that I suggested in my other videos was to look at anti-discrimination as a matter of consumer law. But today, I want to see anti-discrimination on a different perspective, on the perspective of employer and employee. So there are a few cases I want to go through, but there is one that happened recently, a couple of weeks ago, that I really want to use as a great example, because it gets people confused sometimes, and it's some kind of where is cancel culture, and when someone rightfully fired. Because if you are an employer, I understand most of you who are employer and have an employee with who a Nazi sympathizer, using the most extreme example, you fire that person. You don't want that person working for you. So there is that fine line between cancel culture that most of us will say that is wrong, and someone being rightfully fired. So this is what I want to talk about in this video, and we're going to go through quite a few examples. Welcome everyone who is on that, everyone who is watching quietly. I'm going to start drinking coffee because it's early in the morning here, but I also have some already. I can't drink too much because I have to go to work later, but yeah, I will be doing my stuff. You can expect me to be drinking. Anyway, let me just share the first thing I want to share with you guys, which is, let me go here. Let's share it. All right, I am sharing this tab. Yep. Let me go a little bit different. I think, yeah, that's better. So the first thing I want to go through is the claim that this person made. So Sasha White, this woman here, made oh, okay, someone's saying the sound is not working very well. So please, guys, if the sound is not working very well, please let me know, because I'm using, as I said, a different setup. I'm not using it's not my usual setup, so it's a little bit, it's new, and if it's not working, please let me know so I can try to do something about it. So yeah, if it's still not working well, if you have problems hearing me, please tell me. Please let me know. All right, so let's go here. So Sasha White claim, wrote here, made this tweet here saying that she was fired for her feminist stance. The Twitter mob came for me, and my employer immediately terminated me. If you have been through something similar, please reach out. So this was a claim that this woman made, that she was fired for her feminist stand. There is a feedback. Okay, so there is feedback. Let me try something different. Let me know if the feedback is gone. So I muted another, like a previous thing that I have here. So maybe it will help. Let me know, please. Yeah, so if you're having any troubles, please tell me. So yeah, this lady called Sasha White made this tweet saying that she was fired for her feminist stance. So she made a comment or tweets, etc., in defense of women against the horrible terrorists that are taking away all women's rights. There was another one that I read about someone saying that she was fired for claiming that biology is real. When someone puts themselves as a victim like that, it's always, a good to be careful about what they're saying, because especially when they're on about that she was fired just for saying that biology is real, that sounds like a total. No one is fired for saying that biology is real. Like literally no one would be fired for that. If someone was fired, there is probably more going on. So they started the hashtag, the gender critical Twitter, which could very well call in some sense the anti-trans Twitter, started this hashtag, I stand Sasha White, which was in support of this poor woman who was fired for defending women's rights. And it became hugely popular. You can see her tweet here has about almost 14,000 likes. It has been shared several times, and we're going to go through the shares because there are some interesting ones. And this hashtag became hugely popular. But somebody decided to make an investigation. And we're gonna see here, where are those? I think that's the one. Shady Petosky went through a few interesting information. Yeah, Mark is pointing out, yeah, if anyone saw her original comments. At first, nobody saw her original comments. Everyone was just completely going on the bandwagon effect, just and supporting her, not knowing the context, not knowing the facts. But somebody did investigate the facts. So this woman called Shady Petosky, I think she's a trans woman, she went and investigated exactly what happened. So this is the statement from Sasha White's employer. They said that they were made aware of comments made by Sasha White on her professional and secondary Twitter accounts. We do not have any room for anti-trans statements at, it's Tobia's literary agency where she works. We have no room for trans sentiments at Tobia's literary agency, period. Thus, we have parted ways with Sasha. In honor of the trans community, we have made a donation for the girls to provide rent or gender-affirming surgery for Black trans people. We are also opening our DMs to any trans author who would like to query or one-page critique on an ongoing basis. So it is a literary agency. It's a company that requires a lot on their relationship with authors, their relationship with public, and their image to public. So it's very important that they maintain a good image in order to to be attractive to consumers. You don't want to have a negative image be associated with trans. People start boycotting you. It's not going to be good for business. So it's perfectly understandable that they would want to keep this positive image of themselves. So this is the person who contacted the agency, Story Sorcery. She started about she started tweeting about this Sasha White person and saying about what she would her tweets, etc. The tweet that actually the one that is on my thumbnail is the tweet that really shocked people, because I think it's the worst of all that she made. So Pink News put out this tweet talking about a trans woman carrot chopped by an abusive drunk woman in horrific transphobic attack in public bathroom. And Sasha's response to this was, what would you do if a man dressed as a woman tried to enter the ladies' room or was already in there? First, if she's a radical feminist, if she's a gender critical, she shouldn't be saying man dressed as a woman, because in theory she doesn't believe that there is such thing as man dressed as a woman. There is no such thing as dressed as a woman. So there is already a contradiction to her radical feminist stance, but whatever. I've handled the situation differently several times. As much as I feel a bit bad for the self-victimizing, confused men, I'm glad there are women who will stand their ground. So she's praising these women who apparently attacked a trans woman. So let's go to the actual news, to the actual report by Pink News. So she's responding to this report here about this trans woman who was attacked by a couple of women in a bathroom. So Lara Ray, who is 56, I checked. She is a transsexual woman. She's not, self-identified, just a man identifying as a woman. No, Lara Ray is a transsexual woman. She's a woman like I am. So even if she wasn't doing anything. You might think it's wrong for people who self-identify go in females' bathrooms. Like, I can understand that position, but even if they're just going there, they're not doing anything. There is absolutely no reason for anyone to be attacked. The moment someone becomes violent, there is no condoning. It's just wrong. So what happened is she went to the bathroom to put to wash her hands, put on her lips. Two drunk women started to insult her, started to harass her, and then one of them, she said she's gonna pick her ID, and when she was going to try to give this woman her ID, she basically carrot chopped her hand, causing an injury. So she was injured. It was a legit assault. She strained her wrist and was hurt by this attack. And the women were drunk. And one of the women called a man, a male friend, to threaten to beat this trans woman up. So she was attacked by these two drunk women. They also called a man to threaten to beat her up just because she went to the bathroom. She didn't do anything wrong. She wasn't harassing anybody. She just went to the bathroom. That's all she did. And her ID is female. She has the right to be in the bathroom, in a female bathroom. That's what. Again, when you change your identification, your birth certificate, you have access to these spaces as legally you are a woman. She didn't do literally anything wrong. And as we've seen, Sasha White read this, and this is her response. What would you do if a man dressed as a woman, Lara Ray is a transsexual woman, entered the ladies' room? She said she's glad that these women stood their ground. So she's praising women who are literally assaulting a woman for just entering the women's bathrooms. So this is unquestionably transphobic. There is absolutely no question about it. This is transphobic, and um, I don't see that. Like, I really don't know what to say, because you're literally condoning violence. The moment you condone violence, you absolutely lose any sort of sympathy. Um, Billy was saying about a tweet that she made um, mocking SRS. Let's see if I can find it here on the thread. This thread by what this thread by Shady is very good. There is a lot of information here. She's also mocking a few black trans women, like going after their appearance. Like, who cares how they look? It's a fucking business. It's so fucking low. This woman has a terrible, terrible. Zach has a terrible. She has absolutely no empathy for trans women. She's just extremely and very hateful in her position. So very extreme. She's here talking about shooting men, something like. The woman is very unhinged. Here is the one. That's like she's retweeting a tweet about having a surgeon chop your willy and drill on your crotch doesn't make you a woman. Like, it's an extremely distasteful, transphobic. She's retweeting that, talking about experimenting on mentally ill individuals. Like, no question that this shit not transphobic. Like, seriously. So she is no doubt a transphobe. It's very clear when you go through her tweets that she is a transphobe. So the question becomes, rightfully fired? Does her employer has the right to fire? I want to show you one that shocked, like, the people who showed her support. This one was the one who shocked me the most. But that is the thing. That is the problem of the internet. I like Jonathan Pye. Jonathan Pye is great, but he probably saw this tweet trending, and that is the problem of the internet. People see this shit, and the most that we're living now with, people are fired for sometimes for very silly things, instantly take the side of the person who was claiming to be justly fired. So, yeah, Elmarie will say in the chat, I don't know the label often, but that's unambiguously true. Exactly. Like, yes, sometimes people are unjustly fired. Sometimes people are wrongfully called transphobic. I've been called transphobic several times. So yeah, that shit does happen. But you can't just simply believe someone claiming to be justly accused of transphobia, someone to be someone who is portraying themselves of a poor, helpless person who did nothing wrong, without actually looking at the facts. And when, like, this hashtag became super popular, a lot of people jumped on it. As we can see here, Jonathan Pye jumped on it on defense of women without actually looking at that. When the facts started to come out, things started, like, a lot of people, okay, I was wrong, I shouldn't have supported her. But a lot of people kept supporting her because they were already committed to this cause. So it was pretty pathetic to see people who I don't think are transphobic, but since they are this to defend her, even after all this shit, they claim her because they were committed to bullshit. So that is the problem of the internet. It's this bandwagon effect. People jump on it and just defend, just assume that the person is being wrongfully fired when it might not be the case. They may have to be bigoted, which was the case with this woman. So what I want to discuss here. So this case to me is very important to exactly discuss something is cancel culture and is something negative that we think shouldn't happen, and when it should happen, when it's okay to fire someone. And I think in this case, my sound issues are back. I didn't change anything. Didn't really change anything because what I'm doing is I'm streaming. I'm using my phone as a webcam, so it is going through the Wi-Fi. So it could be some sort of interference or something like that, because I really didn't change anything. So I really don't know it could be causing it. I'm sorry about that. Can you guys hear me though? Is it easy to understand what I'm saying, or is it too bad? About that. Uh, yeah, if you can't understand me, please let me know, and I'll see what I can do. Okay, so it's not everybody having this. I'm sorry for those who are having. I really don't know what is going on. The thing, I'm probably gonna need a better webcam, so that is probably what I really need. If I stream more often, I'm gonna do that. Anyway, so back to our topic. I think in this case, it's very clear that she is transphobic, and in this case, a literary agency depends on their contacts and depends on their appearance. So, in the perception that the public has about them, if they have this became a big case, if you have this person working for them, authors and publishers might not want to work with this agency because of this person. They might start boycotting them. So there is a good justification for them to fire this woman and say, no, we don't want this woman working for us because she can actually damage our business. If we keep her working here, we might actually lose business because of this woman. There is absolutely, in my opinion, no justification for keeping her employment. There is no justification that they are forced to keep her employed for them. Like, they have reasons. Employers have the right to fire employees that don't match with the company values. Every company has certain values that they stand for. If your employee doesn't hold up to them, there is no reason to not fire them. They have all the justification to fire them. Now, possible that you could say that they should try to do some education or something like that to give them a chance. If it's something as serious as this woman was, she was condoning a violent act, I think there is good reason to just let her go. Just end her contract. Goodbye. Good luck. There is, I think, this is certainly a case. It's no cancel culture. This is a case of someone who is legitimately fired for being bigoted. So, yeah, as I said, they are a trans-inclusive company. They would lose important clients by standing by a transphobic woman like Sasha. Exactly. They would lose business. So they just get rid of the employee who is causing trouble. And now she was hired for just for a few weeks. She was new to the company. So more reason to just, she's someone who's been working there for years. So it's more reason to, the easiest thing, end her employment, because I'm going to give her a workshop, going to give training or whatever. That's going to have costs for the company as well. So why should they teach this transphobic to not be transphobic? Let's fire her and good luck. So yeah, there is no, in my opinion, it's a clear-cut of someone who was legitimately fired for just being bigoted. So, okay, this is the case of Sasha White, but there are cases that I want to go through because it can get more complex than that. This case, she's clearly condoning violence, which is unacceptable. And it's not just a matter of opinion. You just can't condone violence. It's just wrong. I think no one would question that. But there's another case that is more interesting because it actually went to court and was a huge drama here in Australia. So this rugby player called Israel Folau was fired. Let me just share it with you. He was fired for making some tweets about LGBT people, about atheists. He's a very fanatic Christian. He's a Christian evangelical, and he made a few tweets about people out. Let me see if I can find the tweet because I have here. I think that's one. Those of you who don't know this case, let's just go through the detail. So you guys can see exactly what happened. So he made this, where is the tweet? Oh, here's a tweet. So he put, it's not a tweet, it was a post. So he made an Instagram post saying that drunks, homosexuals, adulterers, liars, fornicators, thieves, atheists, idolaters, hell awaits you, only Jesus. And he talks about those living in sins, they have to accept Jesus Christ, otherwise they're going to go to hell, etc. Some Bible verse or some bullshit like that. So he is a professional, has a multi-million-dollar contract, and he made this post here on social media saying that if you are all of these things, you're going to go to hell unless you repent and accept Jesus Christ. Now, of course, the thing that shocked the most was homosexuals. Nobody really cared about the atheists. Fuck the atheists. But went after homosexuals. That was a huge thing. And the National Rugby League, who is his employer, contacted him and said that he was breaching his contract because he had a contract with he has a contract where he said that he needs to have certain has to behave in a certain way, which is an image contract. There is a code of conduct in his contract because players, they make so much money because they are public figures and they help selling the image of the National Rugby League. So there is a behavior that he needs to have publicly, representative of brand, because the National Rugby League is a brand. Wallabies, which he represents, is a brand. So he's on social media, he's a representative of that brand. So he needs to observe certain behaviors. And so as Andrew is putting here, discrimination law, there is an exemption where employers say fire people for hurting businesses. So that was the argument that was used by the National Rugby League. So the National Rugby League fired him. The National Rugby League fired him. They ended his employment. And for firing him, they gave him a warning, and he made another post calling out homosexuals for saying homosexuals going to hell or something like that. lots of other. Oh, sorry. I will try to speak a little slower then. I'm sorry. I really don't want the internet because I'm using the internet to transmit from a phone to the computer. I'm very sorry. It's the first time I'm using this setup. If you I will definitely not do it again. And next time I will choose something different. I'm very sorry. I'm gonna speak slower and see if it's go full screen is better. So let me stop sharing then. So what happened is, yeah, he made this post. The National Rugby League told him to stop doing that. I think he made another post on social media about homosexuals. He also huge backlash, and the National Rugby League decided to terminate his employment because of that. So after they ended his employment, there was a huge thing here in Australia of people saying that he was fired for his religious position, because it was a religious position. He's saying, I have the right to have my own beliefs, and I have the right to say them out loud. It's my religious freedom. So this huge controversy here in Australia, even the Prime Minister made comments about it, because yeah, he was defending the right of this man to preach his religion, which is an exception to any sort of free speech. You know, you have the right to his religion. So the National Rugby League didn't agree with his argument. They thought that he had breached his contract, and they ended his employment. He was fired, his job. But he sued them. He sued the National Rugby League, and as a result of their lawsuit, there was a settlement. They settled. The National Rugby League and Israel Folau settled in court. And both issued a joint apology. So Israel Folau apologized for all the harm he has done, etc. And the National Rugby League apologized to Israel for causing harm to his career or whatever. I don't remember exactly what they said, but it was something on those lines. They apologized to and Folau's lawyers are now talking about having a new law to protect religious freedom at work. So we don't know details of the settlement, because this is always made in private, but apparently the case went in favor of Israel Folau. So it seems that the law here, well, the court that was judging this case was understanding that Folau was on the right. He had the right to post those things as an expression of his religious beliefs. It's different from the case of Sasha White. Sasha White is praising, she's condoning an act of violence. What Folau is saying is, I believe these people are going to, it's my religious belief. I think what they're doing is gonna put offer. I have the right to say that. I am not telling anyone to be hurt. I am not inciting anything against anybody. I'm just saying that these people are going to, because of their beliefs, because of their behaviors, they have to accept Jesus, repent, or unless they receive. This is a religious belief. This is not an incitement of anything. But at the same time, I understand the position of the National Rugby League here in saying, yeah, but these positions were going to come to us. Some sponsors might not be happy to sponsor us anymore because we are condoning that sort of thing. So it's a very tricky position. And I think in the case of someone like Israel Folau, who is has a millionaire contract, his contract depends on image. I think it's an exception. I think the National Rugby League has the right to fire him because of that, because it is an exception, because he is a famous person, he's a public person, he represents a brand. He's not the same as a normal employee. He's different. If, for example, some nobody went to social media and talked about their religious beliefs, like works in a clothing shop, a department store, went on the internet, say that they believe sexuals are going to now, and their employer fired them. I think that would be wrong. I think that would be the employer should have the right to do that, because that person was not acting as an employee when they posted that. It's their religious beliefs. They are as wrong as and as ignorant it is. They are not advocating for violence. They are not advocating for anyone to lose their rights. They're simply saying that according to their beliefs, this person is to help. It is a belief. It is something that doesn't cause direct harm to anybody. You know, people might argue that, oh, it can cause harm because somebody who believes that is read that some homosexual, like some who is questions of sexuality, is religious, gonna read that and is gonna be impressed about that. But honestly, that person is just repeating what the church is saying. Like, who is to blame here is the church. Is teaching shit, not the. This is someone who's So I think it's wrong to fire someone in a normal circumstance, but I think Folau case is different. It is an exceptional case because this person is very famous. This person is a public person, so it's very important. When you post something on social media, it has a huge impact on the brand they represent, which is the National Rugby League. So I think it's an exception. Another case, I don't want to share the screen because it's not working well, but another case that some of you might remember is James Damore case. The guy was fired from Google. He wrote a memo about the bias on Google. He was saying that Google had a few bias in their hiring department, the hiring policies. They were favoring women, and he was saying that they were trying to compensate for a gap on men and women in the workplace, and he was saying that that was wrong because women are psychological, neurological differences in comparison to men, so they would never be as successful as in software engineering. That was basically his argument. He was saying that the gender gap in employment is a result of biology, and the policies that Google was implementing was going to hurt business. That was basically his argument. And he was fired. Like, he was searching on Google at the time. It was, I think, I don't know, 2015, around that. There was a huge controversy on Google, and he was fired because of that, because of the memo. And again, there was a lot of discussion about it. Google was right to fire him because he was simply pointing out studies and things like that. And some were saying that they were right to fire him because he was advocating for discrimination. This is a very controversial and difficult case. Because he was, in a way, advocating for discrimination in the workplace. He was saying that Google's policies, Google's undiscriminatory, or non-anti-discriminatory, Google's inclusive policies inclusive towards women were bad, so he was having a position against um, affirmative act, against including women, against equality, you say. So he was having a very controversial position in that sense, and Google thought that he was that position was in trouble at work. Women were feeling unwelcome. Women were feeling undeserved for someone saying that they were there just because Google was patronizing them. That is an interpretation that a lot of people had of his memo. He was very patronizing towards women, the women who was working and who didn't deserve to be there. So there is, I think, a good argument to say he was justly fired because of this angle that he was he was making the women who wanted to feel that they were undeserved, that they didn't deserve to be there. At the same time, he was also justifying his position with studies and things like that. So he was, in his view, simply pointing out what he believed were facts that were that he think were justifying his position, that Google was wrong in whatever they were doing. So, and he did it anonymously. He didn't say his name. This case went to court, settled as well. There was settlement. I think there were two cases. The case that he took to the labor court, he lost. Google won that case. Then he took to a court, and I think there was a settlement there. So the labor court, I know that the labor court thought that Google was on the right to fire him. So I side with the court. I think they had a good reason to fire him, even though probably the best solution would have been to give him some training about these issues, teach him about action and that sort of. He would have been better than fire him. He didn't come across as malicious. I don't think his memo is malicious. I think his memo is he did some understandings, but some of the points that he was making on his memo were correct. So I don't think he's a bad guy, and I think Google overreacted and fired him. I think he wasn't worthy of firing him. But I want to fight it. That is a very tricky case. It is a very tricky case because there are good arguments on both sides, and I don't see. So I don't see it as simply cancel culture. He was just fired because of his positions. I think it is a little bit more complex. Yeah, these are cases where it's difficult to say whether it's cancel culture or it's rightful termination of employment, because he was devaluing the women at the workplace. So it is something that could be understood as harmful to the work environment. Women would feel devalued and they didn't deserve to be there. And that is the thing. You don't want that at the workplace, That is a very good case here to think about, and because it's not so clear. And the last one I want to talk about is our friend Lily Jean, because Lily Jean is claiming, I have to share this. It is an old tweet, but I really want to share this because it's fucking hilarious. She claimed that she's been cancelled. So let me share it. Put proof. Going on my website tomorrow, but that doesn't need to stay up here. much longer. You cannot cancel me. So Lily Jean is saying that she's being canceled. Now, I find that very, very funny. Lily Jean, those of you who see my video about her and her unfinished mother have harassed people, have doxed people, have tried to get people fired. So, and of course, that got attention of a lot of people. And there's a campaign on that to show what they did, what Lily Jean and her mother did. There is also the grooming thing. Grooming. So yeah, the campaign on the internet. Always, every time Lily Jean and her try to reach a label, like try to reach a brand, like a beauty brand, there is always the people who immediately tell them who Lily Jean is, and to the videos, to the Reddit threads, to find this is who Lily Jean is. Don't work with this person. And Lily Jean claims she's been canceled. She can't get in contact with anybody because of these people who are canceling her and going after her. But again, this is not canceling. She deserved it because her and her mother have a terrible, nasty presence on the internet. They try, but they actually to get fired, harassed numerous people. So this is not her being canceled. This is simply letting brands know, letting brands aware of what they have done. They have made some statements as well. It's pretty nasty, and they're just letting brands know who these people are, so they don't work with them because they don't deserve to get any contract because they're really nasty people. So they're not canceled. They're canceled. They should have anything to be canceled, but they are just raising awareness to brands. So this is not a case of the culture. Is that thing like if you have a nasty presence on the internet, people have the right to criticize you. People have the right to let the world knows what you say. And it seems like people are hiding behind cancel culture to justify being terrible people on the internet, to justify being bigoted. And that is also a problem. Like, cancel culture is a problem. It's definitely like some people are fired, some people lose contracts, some people are silenced for things that they shouldn't be silenced. But in private universities, people being from the universities, see that I definitely don't agree with. You're talking about someone who is justifying or getting or genocide, or you don't want to platform someone who has a cultural opinion about a specific topic. I think the platform is anti what university for, which is to discuss things, to have to try to reach to a position based on evidence, based on conversations. And universities are not places to shut down conversations. And that, in my opinion, is definitely a problem. And it's a great example of cancel culture. Say, I don't want to hear this person. It's not up to the students to decide that. The student is there to listen to controversial opinions. Students have the ability, if someone is bigoted and have opinions that are wrong, students should have the ability to make arguments against that position. They're being taught that it's okay to just censor people, and that is, of course, terribly wrong. And definitely something that is cancel culture. And there are also some instances where someone made a tweet on post social media that is misinterpreted, and people just give the worst possible interpretation to it, and then try to get fired or something like that. The best that I can think of is someone who has controversial opinions. Thunderfoot, Hubert Thunderfoot, who is a professor, and he's a scientist. He worked for a university. He has his positions on feminism that are controversial. He's anti-feminist, and people did try to get him fired. They contact his employer, contact the university, saying that he's Nazi, outrageous accusations about him, which were false. Who tried to fire? So that is the kind of thing that is unacceptable. A lot of gender critical feminists talk about getting doxxed. If someone is doxing TERFs, gender criticals, for having an anti-trans position, it's also doxing people is wrong. So yeah, there is. If someone is not advocating for violence, as Sasha White was, I think they have the right to have their view. It's different when at work they have a bigoted position. So let's say someone believes that trans women are just effeminate men. They're not real women. But if at work they treat women, trans women with respect, I don't really see a good reason to fire them. Because they are not causing a trouble at work. They are having that position in private. But here's the thing, that is the problem with social media, that separation between private and public became so blurred now, because social media is you as a private citizen putting out your opinions. But of course, it's out there for everyone to see. It is public, and people know where you work. It can affect the company that you work for, because yeah, people are gonna say, you don't buy from this company because they have a bigoted employee. I think the best solution would always be education. Try to have a workshop with this person. Try to have a conversation with them. Try to let them see why they think the way they do. Try to educate them instead of firing them. But employees are going to say that costs money. Why would they, spend money on someone when they just hire somebody else? It's cheap. But at the same time, if you hire somebody else, you're going to have to train them. So, there are two sides here. I think the best way would be to try to educate this person, have a conversation with them instead of just firing them. So there is just two. There's always these two extreme positions, and I think probably there is a better, more, I wouldn't say middle of the road, but there is a less radical position to take here. And there's also a good example. It's a little bit different, but this trans woman who was harassed in Brazil, I made this on a video about hate speech laws. I used this case as an example. She was harassed by people on the street, and she sued them for harassment. She was also assaulted, but she sued them for transphobia. And when she won the lawsuit, instead of money, the judge awarded her like $10,000 or something like that. And instead of taking the money, she actually did a workshop to teach the people who harassed her about trans rights and about trans people, what it means to be trans. And she did a very beautiful thing. People felt that they were respected, that she actually explained to them why she is the way she is, etc. And instead of, it wasn't just someone trying to portray, she wasn't portraying herself as a victim. She was victimized, she was attacked. But instead of using that opportunity to have a revenge, she actually used it to educate them. So it's a great example of how I think should be the approach to this stuff. Try to educate people so they become less intolerant. So that is the approach that we should have, instead of, I think, being too confrontational and just punish people. it's a way of making them more bigoted because they're gonna feel resentful. So that's why I don't like cancel culture. Why cancel culture in my is so toxic, because it makes people more and more extreme, and someone who is cancelled might become more bigoted than they were before they were cancelled, and that is not helpful. Let's go to the chat. I see something here. Um, I thought you were opposite to Christian Bible. Uh, yeah, I opposite of Christian Christian Billy. Okay, I was confused about this comment. Okay, no, Billy. Sorry. So, um, to sum it all up, cancel culture is a thing. It is toxic. Definitely, we need anti-discrimination laws to protect people from being fired for having controversial opinions, which they are allowed to have. But at the same time, employers do have the right to fire people if those opinions are going to cause some disturbance at the workplace. It's going to make workplace more difficult, which we could say was the case of the Moore. There was a justification, and I think it's a valid justification. If the person got business, which was the case of Sasha White, she was definitely going to hurt business if she was employed. And if the person is going to cause that brand, which is the case of Lily, she definitely doesn't deserve to be employed. Companies have the right to not want to have anything to do with this person because her presence is extremely toxic. So almost like when someone is fired, when someone loses a contract, it is in a way cancel culture. And I think at the moment there is a rush when people assume that they are being cancelled when sometimes being rightfully fired. They're having their contract rightfully terminated. And Sasha White was a great example where a lot of people just jumped on it, jumped on the bandwagon, went after a hashtag, didn't know about it, and they are promoting a trend. It's just like promoting a fucking transfer. And he doesn't know the specific. He just saw this thing going on the internet and just assumed that she was cancelled. And that is a kind of shit that is horrible. It does, in a way, normalize transphobia. Because you can be blatantly transphobic, as this woman was, then you are praised for it. You are a victim. Your transphobic stance, and that is horrible. That is definitely not something that we should encourage. Before I go, I have a couple of announcements. So the first announcement that I want to do is about my Teespring shop. I created a Teespring. I created a shop on Teespring. So my first line here is a token. You can see my t-shirt is from this. I think it was Brooke. She got a mug. The mug looks really cool, and this is something that I'm launching officially. I actually have created it a while ago, but I'm launching today. I'm going to link on the description. If you are a patron, you get discount. You can check my see how much you get extra. So it is something I'm saying now. I'm also going to add more stuff. I have a few line that I want to add to the shop. So this is I'm officially launching this. So go there if you want to have like soul mug or t-shirt or whatever. And it was pretty fun. And I'm going to keep launching more stuff to it as it goes. Designs. That I am announcing is that I approved for memberships. So YouTube actually approved me for membership. I don't have to do it because I'm not a streamer. So I will create memberships. Memberships will also be discounted on my merch store. And what I can do at the moment is give you early access. So I'm going to create memberships. I'm going to put it out on the community tab as soon as I have it. I'm going to do it sometime this week. And I'm going to put it on community tabs. Those of you who want to become members of the channel, we will definitely have early access. I'll see what other benefits I can give. But at the moment, my channel is tiny. I really, I can't have private private streams with you guys. It's just so few people. I have few patrons. At the moment, I'm probably gonna have very few. So this is really much to do besides that's so cool. So definitely something I can offer. And discount on the merch store is another thing that I offer. So yeah, I will definitely announce it this week. Put it on the community tab. Yeah, let's see any suggestions that you guys have. I'm gonna leave a pin comment in with the links to the Teespring store, and you can also leave me a comment about memberships ideas. Of course, always open to feedback, always open to ideas. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I just, as I said, I'm not a streamer, even though I'm gonna stream more often because I'm busy, and with videos that I do, so work. I'll stream easier just editing a video. It takes a lot more time to edit a video. So yeah, it's I'll think about what I'll do, the direction that I'm going with this stuff. All right, guys. I think that's it. I think I covered everything I had to cover. I'm sorry about the technical issues. I will definitely try something different next time. It was the first time that I tried this system, and I'm sorry that it didn't work as I planned. But I'm just trying this so I could stream with better quality. The video is better than last time. The audio this time wasn't working great, so probably next I can use other source for the audio. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Have a good day, good night, whatever you are.